My name is Fatima, and I'm a research civil engineer with the U.S. Army, and I'm presenting ongoing research work my team and myself are engaged in for the development of subdomain sizing guidelines for subdomain modeling for ADCIRC. So across our organization, we use the CSTORM modeling system to perform storm surge simulations for project evaluations. CSTORM is an integrated suite of models, including ADCIRC and ST-Wave. These models are highly accurate and well-validated, but computationally expensive. So subdomain modeling was developed to address this concern and then incorporated into ADCIRC and allows for simulations to be performed at a fraction of the computational cost. However, subdomain modeling also requires approximating size and location of subdomain boundaries prior to running any simulations. But no guidelines exist for approximating subdomain size. So what is subdomain modeling? Well, here if we look at figure 1 is the general workflow for subdomain modeling. We begin with a base full domain, generate subdomains, insert projects and refinements in these subdomains, taking care that any modifications do not extend to the subdomain boundaries. Then we run ADCIRC on the base full domain, extract boundary conditions for the subdomains, and then run ADCIRC on the modified subdomains. So while subdomain modeling is a great tool that allows for multi-scenario simulations to be performed with less computational effort, guidelines for subdomain sizing do need to be developed so that subdomain size can be minimized while also minimizing computational cost. And in order to develop these guidelines, we need to consider what factors influence subdomain size, including geometry, topography, and bathymetry of the area of interest, the type of forcing conditions, and the characteristics of the project features. So for our experimental design and considering subdomain size is a function of BJP, where B is geometry, topography, and bathymetry of the area of interest, J are the forcing conditions, P are the size of the project alternatives. We identify test cases that include a variety of these. So for example, a project alternative can be small, medium, or large. An area of interest might be in a geographically isolated region like in figure 2, or an open coast like here in figure 3. And finally, we need to consider whether we're running a tides-only simulation or we're running a hurricane-only simulation, or we're including hurricane and waves. So to help us with our experimentation and analyses, we've developed some tools. One generates color maps of the differences between maximum water surface elevation and time step at which the maximum elevations occurred for the existing and project conditions. And then it finds the maximum overall differences in water surface elevation and time step and calculates distance to the point of maximum water surface elevation difference from a specified reference point. Our second tool calculates differences between the full mesh and the sub-mesh maximum water surface elevations and time steps, along with maximum, median, mean, and standard deviation of the differences, and saves the values to a summary file. We have a third tool that generates concentric ellipses around project or area and outputs points into a station location file. And a fourth tool that reads in files with data mapped to the ellipse boundary points and calculates the maximum, mean, median, and standard deviation of the differences between existing and with project results for each layer, and saves these values to a summary file. So recognizing that this is ongoing research, for our next steps, we need to determine an acceptable error threshold where we can minimize the size of the subdomain and the computational cost, and really also the error, but also recognizing that the error at the subdomain boundaries does not necessarily need to be 0. Then we need to analyze error metrics from full domain results from existing test cases to select subdomains of various sizes, run simulations on these subdomains, and validate against equivalent full domain results, and then develop rules of thumb for subdomain sizing as a function of BJP that I've spoken about previously. My name is Fatima, and